I'm Anissa, I'm 16, and I sort of first got involved with the Youth Council because my local cinema had this Young Audience Award jury application open, so I applied to do that. And honestly, I didn't really know much about film at the time. I was just sort of interested because they said that they would give me free food if I went, so I did. And honestly, I had such a great time. I met so many cool people, and we had such a great day watching films. And what I really loved was how they had this Zoom set up where you could talk to people all around the world about the films you just watched. We kept meeting over Zoom and talking, and that's sort of how the Youth Council was born. It's sort of just like a group of young people who are interested in film, and we sort of just come together and we give ideas on like how to change things, and we go and talk to people in the industry. And our latest project has been the Film Club, the European Film Club. And that's now in its beta test stage, so we're really pleased that that's going so well.
My name's Emmerson, I'm 16, and similar to Anissa, I decided to sign up for part of a jury which happened in the IMAX in London. And yeah, it was just a full day of basically watching films, and I really enjoyed it. In terms of my age, there's a lot of people that care about films, especially European films, because obviously you have the Hollywood films, you have the Nollywood films, but European films aren't being talked about enough. And when we go into these meetings and we talk about European films, or when we get to see them in person, you really get to understand how much European films mean to certain people, how they can be able to translate different big topics, feelings as well. And I think something that's also very important is obviously with the international voice and people coming from different countries, you get different perspectives due to the lives that people have lived.
It's just been so amazing because the underlying thing that I realised was that we're honestly not that different at all. And I think that really struck me as something that was quite crazy, because you would just not expect everyone to sort of have the same opinions and interests, but all of what we were saying was sort of the same, and like we all held the same value in film, and everyone had such interesting things to say. And I think in that way, the film and the film club really brought us together, and it just made us realise how much more we have in common than how much more we have with differences between us. And especially since the UK is becoming very separate from the other countries in Europe, it's really nice to have that just to bring us back together again.
So I think the European movies offer a range of different topics and also are very good at displaying feelings, very important topics that aren't really being talked about in a way that is enjoyable. And I think, in my personal opinion, European movies are just a bit more emotive in terms of the way they're able to educate and allow young people to see different topics than Hollywood films. And that's why I think it's important for young people to see European films, because with the things that we're being taught in school, some people learn better visually than they do when looking at words. Therefore, using European movies to educate young people would be a great way to help a young person. So yeah, I think that's what's different between European movies and Hollywood blockbusters.
I think what Emerson said is completely right, about how they're just sort of a different perspective entirely. And I feel like the focus isn't put on which movie will make the most money or which storyline is like the one that's guaranteed to get the most views. I feel like it's just a completely different perspective of just telling a good story and finding an interesting new angle or new perspective or new character that they can explore this angle with. And I find that really interesting, especially because a lot of, obviously, the films we're watching are aimed at teenagers, and what European films think that teenagers can handle and view is a lot different to the sort of like stereotypical American blockbuster where it's like some kind of high school drama, like the girl meets the boy. It just gets boring. And the European films, like, they really give you something to think about, like a wider message, or just change your perspective on the world a bit, something you haven't thought about. I say they just allow your mind to grow a lot more than those like blockbusters that are just designed to make money.
The most important thing is to understand your audience, understand the people you're talking to, the things they won't like, the things that they will like. And I think also just be different, be unique.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's really important just to make a unique story, a unique piece, because I feel like I said before, the emphasis these days is just on what will get you the most money, but what people want to see is something new and original. And I don't think people realise enough that young people do appreciate that, and we want to see something different and exciting. And also, I think what young people today really want to see is just representation, because that's something that's been like missed out over the years. And I think it's really powerful seeing yourself or like someone who looks like you or someone who's come from a similar background in a film, and it just helps everyone relate to films and enjoy them so much more. I also think that it's really important to understand European culture and understand more about where you're from and where other people who live near to you are from, because I feel like watching American movies you can get quite disconnected from your culture or like your stories. Because I know my favorite film is Song of the Sea, which is like, I'm pretty sure it's Emerson's favorite film as well.
My one was Wolfwalkers. That was my
Yeah,
favorite.
Wolfwalkers and Song of the Sea, they're really good. I remember seeing Song of the Sea when I was really little, but it's really stuck in my head and I can almost remember everything that happened just because it was such a different story from anything I'd ever seen. And the animation was incredible as well. Honestly, the same with Wolfwalkers, just the fact it was a different story and it felt like the kind of thing that would have been an old story passed down from word of mouth maybe, but then was turned into a film. So it's sort of like it was adapting itself to modern storytelling.
There's one film though that is literally the best film that I have seen. It's called The Long Goodbye. It's a short film, but in terms of whether it feels short, it doesn't. It feels there's so much compacted within it that to just take it out, you'd be there for hours. And the way it's portrayed is really heartwarming, especially the fact that he's a poet, so he mixes poetry within the film. It's very emotive in terms of the way that it's presented, and yeah, it's just very action-packed, and I think it's one of the best European films that I've seen, even though it is a short film. So yeah, The Long Goodbye, that's the one.
I just feel like I've learned so much more about almost the power we have as young people, because like, thanks so much to the organisers who literally let us do everything. They put complete trust in us to go and talk to people about the change we want to see and like everything to do with European film. And because they've let us do that, I feel like we've all just grown so much more and learnt so much more about how our word is important, because we're the consumers of film, like we're the target audience for a lot of companies. And what people aren't realising is like the value we have and what we can bring. And I think we've all realised that ourselves and managed to grow so much more from talking to different people and different young people, because this means a lot to us and it's really important that we get involved, I think.